Talk about a dark side. The dark side about owning German Shepherds. You will go through more lint rollers than you've ever gone through in your life. Don't wear black. What, am I gonna wear color like a normal, happy, well-adjusted adult? This video might be the most important thing we can talk about. We're talking about your dark side. Now, I don't mean dark as in evil. We're not talking about blood rituals that are hooded in a forest where we're chanting. I mean the dark side that we all have within us. It's the reason you self-sabotage your goals. It's the reason you push good people away in relationships. And it's the reason that's holding you back from making the amount of money you want. The good news is that once you know this chart that we're talking about in this video, change can happen really fast for you. You know, when we break out the chart, we're keeping it really simple and real. So without further ado, I'll explain this chart. We'll apply it to you in several areas such as money, relationships, happiness, and then I'll give you the solution of how to fix this. And I do want to give credit to Sam Ovens, where I picked up this chart from for the first time, and it changed my life. Here we have a basic oscillation chart. And you'll notice right here, there's negative 1, 2, and 3, and then there's positive 1, 2, and 3. This represents your life. Gaining +3, minus +3. Gaining +2, minus +2, +1, -1. Well, what does that net out to? Nets out to 0. As if you didn't have any of the positives because they're wiped out by some of the negatives. This is the cycle that controls your life. And this part right here is what is known as your dark side. Or you can use the word your shadow side, the parts of you that are holding you back or self-sabotaging. And until you recognize this cycle, it's gonna run your life. Story to kick this off. When I was 25, I was struggling financially. And it wasn't that I didn't work, I was working a ton. 3 jobs in college at once. I had been working unofficially since I was 12 and got caught shoplifting Red Bulls, wearing like eyeliner and a My Chemical Romance shirt, thought I was really punk rock. Story for another time. Parents were like, we're not paying for this dude. I had to get a job and work, golf caddy, carrying rich people's clubs and watching them throw fits when they'd miss the ball and break a club. It was real life Happy Gilmore.
Son of a bitch, Paul, why didn't you just go home? Are you too good for your home?
So I added up all the jobs because I was like, dude, I've been working since I was 12 years old. How do I have not a single dollar to show for this? And I realized this lesson. I would make money and then bills would come up and then I would make some money and I would spend it. I would make some money and find a way to spend it. And that netted out to $0. And that pattern didn't go away. Making more money, say $10,000 a month. Good amount. I thought so too. Until I looked back on the year of my first 6-figure year. How do I only have $5,000 left over? This pattern appeared again, where I would make $10,000 and I would spend $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, and it netted out to 0. And that's when I got really frustrated. I'm like, I didn't work those 20 jobs by 25 for fun. I worked them to get ahead, yet I had nothing to show for it. This is the easiest way to illustrate this point, is that it's not about the money you make, it's about the money you keep. And that if you make $1 million, but you spend $1 million in one, you are worse off than the person who's making 50 and saving 30. So now you're thinking, okay, well, how is this my dark side? Well, let's take another area, relationships. Boy meets girl, and it starts on a euphoric high. Everything's going great. I think they're the one. You know, you have that honeymoon stage the first couple weeks, and then what happens is the first fight happens, and they say a bunch of nasty things to each other. Oh, I didn't know you were this way. I didn't know you were like that. Well, you do X, Y, and Z, and I can't believe it. A lot of people break up right here. Some make it through and they push back, they build up, and then the next fight happens. And this cycle can repeat and repeat, and it doesn't build towards anything. The relationship eventually fizzles out. Now what happens is, instead of, if you never understand the dark side, the parts of us that self-sabotage in relationships, in this case, this pattern is gonna happen in the next relationship and the next one and the next one. And people start to say things like, I'm just not good in relationships, or I keep attracting toxic people, or everyone I date is crazy or a narcissist. And I love the saying that if it smells like shit, walk away. But if everywhere you go smells like shit, check your shoe. And so what we're really talking about here is the self-sabotage, this dark side, that if you never understand what's dragging you down, all the self-improvement, all the positivity that we're using to build up, essentially is for nothing. It can help, but you do gain a lot from looking at the shadow side. Okay, and this is why I'm so passionate, and I've spoken on this channel immensely, is like good for you for pursuing self-improvement and wanting to be better. That's noble, that's very good. But if you never focus on the other half of the coin, which is self-healing, you're just gonna find yourself spinning your wheels. For the first 10 years, I was all about just self-improvement and mindset. And I think I was able to get by on just sheer excitement and positivity. But you hit this upper limit, and then you start realizing it's not necessarily about what I'm adding in, but it's what I need to remove to break through to the next level of growth. In other words, it's not necessarily the +3s, but minimizing the -3s. Let's talk about feeling stuck, because that's a common feeling that people will say, and what normally leads into watching videos like this or doing the inner work is people will say, I feel stuck in life. And when people say that, it kind of conjures up the image of just staying put in one place, right? Like we think someone is stuck in mud or quicksand and we're just stuck here going nowhere. That's one type of stuck, but I don't think it's the most common type. The second type of feeling stuck is more dangerous, and it's probably something that you haven't recognized in yourself that keeps you in these patterns. There's movements, but you're in a spiral, stuck in a vortex, like a snake eating its tail. This type of stuck is the most dangerous and most common, and this is what this cycle is. You might be moving and trying to change your life, but it's these self-sabotage shadow sides of you coming in and dragging you down at your heels. This is why if you start a diet, you're going to the gym and you're progressing, but then there's the binge eating at night that brings all the calories that you tried to cut out and work off. This video is not to shame you. We know what you did. Bad boy, bad boy. In fact, the shame is what's causing a lot of this withdrawing and saying like, oh, I can't, no one would love me if they knew this. Or if you only knew what I struggle with in private or behind the scenes, you would reject me too. And I actually find it's the opposite. It's the vulnerability that creates the closeness. There's a saying, vulnerability draws people near and significance pushes them away. That when we focus on posturing and looking like the coolest person out there who has it all together, that is so unrelatable, isn't it? Like, this just from social media. I mean, the people who have the perfect life and they only talk about what's perfection, yeah, they might have millions of people that follow them, but the depth of the following isn't relayed in the numbers. And then you look at people who are raw and they share some of the low moments or they share some of their flaws, like I do on this channel. That's why, one of the reasons I try to is sharing from my own mistakes and, not trying to lead as this postured, perfect guru who has the magic codes that if you follow, you're going to have a great life. I like getting raw in the trenches when I can. I've seen a shift that I'm refreshed by of moving away from just focusing on this and incorporating more of a holistic self-improvement instead of this like BS in a seminar room where you write down your goals and you only focus on the positive and you get more of it. That is true to a point, but it's what drives me crazy about some of these niche branch off of psychology or spirituality, like the law of attraction, right? They say, only focus on your thoughts, only focus on the positive and you'll get more of it. And that sounds really good at an elementary level. It makes sense, like attracts like. Okay, if I say to myself these affirmations or positivity, I'll get more of it. And that can work to a point. But even in that, the law of attraction, why that doesn't work for a lot of people is because they're saying all these positive things, but man, they still have these core stories or feelings of inadequacy. And they show up in relationships or when they try to start a business and they try to, kind of brainwash themselves out of it. But man, these things are screaming there. Like if you have a sprained ankle and, you're trying to run, but dude, you got to take care of that sprained ankle because it's screaming at you. The pain is a signal, deal with this or it's going to get worse. what you see in that camp is if, man, they had only just admitted, why do I feel like there's something fundamentally wrong with me? Let me question that. Let me question these core stories that I have that I keep replaying. Instead of just trying to ignore them like, oh, nope, doesn't exist. Nope. This is your next growth spurt right here. I guarantee you. Not putting your head in the sand and only focusing on positive. Problems can be good in the same way they are in business, because when you solve it, it works better. The same way in yourself, when you start looking at your dark side or the parts of you that are holding you back, dude, you give it a little bit of energy and you free up and liberate so much more energy. This is what it starts to look like, that your lows become higher and your highs get higher as well. This is real progress, not some big oscillation of self-sabotage, the cycle. This is what it means to break free of the cycle, of the loop that people get stuck in, where the momentum's just spinning them around like they're caught in a whirlpool. This is what true progress in life looks like. Notice there's still lows here, but the highs become higher as well. You'll find that growth is when what used to bother you and used to be like catastrophic in your life, like, oh my God, it would throw you off course for like a week. Now, it still bothers you, but it's like for a couple hours. Instead of it being like a level 10 problem for you back in the day, it's now registering as like a level 4 problem for you. That is what true personal growth is. Let's end here. How do you start using this in your life? 2 pieces of advice I'll leave you with. The way you can identify this cycle in your dark side. First one is awareness. This is where everything starts. All change starts with honesty. It's hard to change things if you're unaware of them. If you don't know they're there, this pattern's gonna run in the background subconsciously. If you don't know why you're spending $10,000 and feel this need or this hole to fill it with insert whatever, then it's just gonna keep going no matter what amount of money you make. If you don't know why you feel the need to get validation from strangers or feel like you're not good enough if you don't achieve X success, well, this is just gonna run in the background no matter what level of the corporate ladder you climb. Self-awareness is a really cool concept when we're talking about like the good things, but it's harder when it's self-awareness on your shadow side. You will get way more benefit from the self-awareness of the parts of you and recognizing those, because when you bring it out of the shadow into the light, by definition, it's not in your shadow anymore, okay? 2, get curious. Curiosity. Don't judge it. Don't make it wrong. Don't beat yourself up. Don't use it as more ammunition to self-attack and say, see, I knew you were different. I knew you were more flawed than everyone else. No. You get curious of why it's there. And that is the trailhead for your real inner work. And it's custom to you. It's not just something you read in a book or something you watch on a podcast or something you hear about someone who went to therapy and learned this thing about themselves. That can be good starting places for you and it's relatable, but man, get your own. Get your own unique core stories and blocks and where it comes from for you. This is your journey to self-awareness, and this is your journey to owning your dark side and reframing it so that you build towards the life you want. And what I'll do now, link up right here a video on habits. If you watch this, if you're like, ooh, how do I actually minimize these downsides? Or I think I have some bad habits or addictions I want to break and I just impulsively do them, I'll link this video up right here. It's a perfect follow-up to this one. Stop settling, start living. See you in the next one. Peace.